Welcome back into the pregame show. I'm visiting with Buck James on the Buck James Show as we lead up to Bryant and Cabot as the games begin to get a little bit bigger now here at the end of the year. A tough schedule for Bryant. Let's go back to last week, Coach, a 48-7 win over Little Rock Southwest, and some individual players to talk about as we usually do. Mytorian Singleton, you got him in motion a lot on offense, and it seemed like that kind of freed him up for both of his touchdowns and a couple of other plays. Talk about his performance.
Well, Mytorian's played very well for us all year long, just being a sophomore and doing what he's been able to do. You know, Coach Bach put him in motion a lot. A lot of times when we go motion, the guy we put in motion gets covered up or doubled up and breaks somebody else open. And that's really why we run the motion, especially down and around the goal line area where he was effective. But he opened up every time, and we were able to get the ball to him. And what he's been able to do is really run the ball after the catch. I think that's been his secret to success. His yak yards, as you will say, are really through the roof because he can catch a ball, and it takes a whole team to tackle him. And he's been a big a plus for us this year on our offensive side of the football.
Yeah, that's been a recurring theme, his speed and able to kind of get into open space. So Tyler Penny played a lot, especially in the second half, the backup quarterback. And, you know, that one drive in the second quarter was kind of a roller coaster, I guess you would call it. But felt like he managed the game well in the second half.
Yeah, I'm not sure all of them had their mind right. They got them in the first half, wanted to see what they looked like under the fire a little bit. And I thought they came back out in the second half and played extremely well. And that's what we challenged them at halftime, was to come out there and play like you're ready to play. And those guys did a great job second half. I thought we were effective. I thought we did a good job of executing our offense. And I thought we played on all cylinders. And I thought our football team really the last 2 weeks has played well, gelled on offense and defense. And hopefully we can carry it into this stretch we got coming up.
Yeah, because it's going to be a tough stretch. Where do you feel like your team is at right now, kind of health-wise and just rest-wise? Because you've had some games where the starters have gotten a lot of rest.
Well, we're hoping that we'll be fresh. You know, we got some banged up and bruised, and, you know, we still play JV games and stuff. And, you know, I think it's, you know, this is the time of year you got to make your money. And this 3 weeks span right here is as tough as there is in the state of Arkansas. And we start with Cabot, and we go to North Little Rock, and then we got Conway. And you can't play any of them before you play the first one. And going to Cabot's a tough stretch, and they're a very well-coached football team. They're a big, strong, physical football team. And our work's cut out for us. We've got to make the field 50 yards wide and 50 yards deep, and we've got to make those big guys cover our speed and turn it into a track meet, as you would say, instead of a boxing match.
Well, Cabot won last week, but I think people are still talking a little bit about their game against Conway the week prior. And then, of course, Conway, a whole nother topic, but they go out and have a very close game against Northside. What did you take away from that Conway-Cabot game? Because at the time, that was kind of the game of the week in 7A, and it kind of helped separate Conway a little bit. What did you see out of Cabot in that, even though they lost?
Well, if you look at the game inside the game, there's things that happened to Cabot that if they make a play, if they drop a ball, if catch a ball, or something goes their way, they get a break. It's a whole different ball game. But once it got away from them, they let it get away. And I think that's what you got to do against a team like Conway, is that they really stretch the field. They really put pressure on you. And if you have a few bad things happen to you, then they just go on to a roll. And, that's down the road what we talk about that. But we've got to make sure we put the same kind of pressure on Cabot. We've got to make sure that we make the field, like I said, 50 yards deep and 50 yards wide, make them cover, make guys who really want to just tackle the football have to cover the football. And I think that's the key to the game. I think we've got to be a good job of handling their motion, handling all their different fronts and sets that they give us. And we've got to make sure that we play football sharp and that we make it a football game instead of just a boxing match.
So let's talk about Chris Ganaway for a second, because I've lost track of the number of guys that have gotten a carry in the backfield this year, which is a good thing, getting a lot of guys some reps. Will it be just him in this game against Cabot? Will you still turn to some of those other guys, and will it be more of a two-headed or three-headed monster, or does Ganaway end up with the bulk of the carries in this one?
Well, we're going to keep it pretty much so. You know, we want to keep fresh, and, competition breeds competition. You know, if we get a running back in there that's not playing very well and he knows another guy's coming in and that guy plays well, then it tends to make your running backs play harder and run harder. And we don't want them to rest on the field. We don't want them to get too comfortable. We want them to be able to get the yak yards and be able to be involved in our passing game. And I think each tailback brings something special to us. Ganaway with his speed is a game breaker. He's got home run speed, and that's what we've got to have at times. And there's times we've got to have the tough yards and, make people tackle, make them be physical. And we have a couple other backs that are able to do that as well, and it keeps them healthy. And I tell you, if you got 3 healthy tailbacks, then you got a good chance to have a good run game.
Coach, you've already talked a lot about the keys to the game. That was going to be one of my next questions, but let's kind of look at it from the other side. What is Scott Reed and his staff saying about your team? What are they telling their team that they're going to have to stop?
Well, they're going to have to tackle, and they're going to have to keep everything in front of them. And, they're going to have to make plays, one-on-one tackles and stuff like that. And they've really got to tackle well, play hard, and play for 4 quarters. And I think that's what we hope we bring to the game, is that you're going to have to play us for 4 quarters. It's going to be one of those slobber knockers that you go out there and, first guy that gets the best punch in might not be the guy that wins the ball game. And it's a 4-quarter game. It's going to be offense, defense, and special teams. And hopefully our football team is prepared for this game. They're not better than Longview. But they can play on the same field as Longview, and they're very well coached. Coach Reed, I have a lot of respect for him and what he's and his staff for what they've been able to do. And the thing they can't do as well as a lot of people is they don't run well. And so he's going to have to keep everything in front, and they're going to have to tackle.
Last question for you, Coach. Do you prefer it this way with the schedule, with one test after another at the end of the year, or would you rather have it broken up? Because I feel like on one hand, you could get a lot of momentum this way. The other hand, maybe if you have some of the easier games mixed in. What do you think?
Well, it's tough either way you go. I mean, if you play them the first conference game, you say, wow, we're jumping right into the fire. If you're playing them at the end, you say, well, everybody who's got to be healthy and all this stuff. I don't know if it matters. I think kids just live from week to week, day to day, and I don't think that's that big a deal to them. I think we analyze stuff too much sometimes, and kids just want to play football. It don't matter who the opponent is. They just know that it's going to be a big game. We got 3 big games in a row, and in the past, if you look at history, we've done well with it. But we've got to go out there and do it again. It don't matter what you've done. It matters what you're going to do.
All right. Well, Coach James, thanks as always for coming up, and good luck.
Appreciate it.
We've got plenty more to come. We'll have our keys to the game coming up next. Stay with us. This is Bryant Hornet Football.